Welcome to the second episode in our miniseries, Legion, Life in the Roman Army, an exhibition which is currently running at the British Museum until June 2024. Over 3 episodes, we'll talk all things army about the exhibits that piqued our sensory interest. Not just the usual weapons and armour stuff, but the less obvious and sometimes surprising aspects of warfare that don't always get so much airtime or attention. Caroline, you can go first. What will you start us off with?
Do you want to think about smells?
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about tent flaps.
Of course.
In the exhibition, there were 6 large leather panels, approximately 60 centimetres by 50 centimetres.
That's large.
So rectangular. And the exhibit is laid out in a grid system. So this is quite a big display in the museum. It took up quite a lot of room. These leather panels were found at the Vindolanda fort and make up some of the roof and side of a Roman military tent. Mm-hmm. So how this worked is that these large leather panels were stitched together to make up a whole tent.
Okay, a bit like a patchwork quilt. Question.
Yeah.
Did they get sewn together once and then transported thusly, or did they get unstitched and restitched?
No, they would have been sewn together and then transported.
Okay.
Because that's a ridiculous amount of work.
Good, I am glad.
It took about 75 animal skins to make one tent.
No.
That is a lot of animals.
That's awful, isn't it, really?
Make one tent.
And how many people would fit or sleep in one tent?
A tent of this type was typically 3 metres squared, so that sleeps about 8 men.
Gosh, that's not much, is it?
Really isn't. So 3 by 3, 8 people in there, 75 goats killed for the pleasure.
And you're not even in a luxurious hotel-like setting. That's not a lot of room. 8 men of substantial build.
At least 5'7".
At least 5'7", as we well know. Decent calf size, I'm assuming.
Okay.
But
Why are we focusing on their calf size?
I don't
think
know.
that's going to take up a lot of tent room.
Well, you never know. But what I'm saying is there's not much personal space there, is there? So you've got very limited quarters for a huge amount of animal death, which is sad.
Begs the question, where did they find all of these goats?
I'm not sure about the farming opportunities.
But the worst thing is that the cost of the tent came out of your pay.
Oh, similar to the armour and the weapons.
So each soldier had to have an eighth of their pay go towards their tent.
Oh, so actually it makes sense for as many people as possible to be in the one tent, doesn't it?
That is true, actually, yes. Share the love.
Yeah.
So if we think about smells with this exhibit, you've got goat skin leather being used to make these tents, which makes sense because it's lighter than cowhide. Think 18 kilos per tent rather than 30 kilos per tent.
Big difference.
It is a big if you're carrying it around, it's a big
for
difference.
a long time, yeah.
And it also has a higher tensile strength.
Okay.
Goat skin,
Does
so
it?
you can pull it and put pressure on it more than you can.
You've got very good hide knowledge.
Thank you very much. But goat skin is stinky. Notoriously so in the leather world.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
You really do have great hide knowledge.
And it's a smell that lingers in comparison to other leathers. If you have a goat skin bag, people are going to smell you coming.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
There's the goat lady.
There she comes, Billy. Get it?
No.
Billy goat.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, for God's sake. Now imagine having to sleep for years in a stinky goat bag.
With stinky men.
With stinky men. When it rains or snows, it would smell even more goaty.
Oh,
because
damp
you get
goat.
damp goat. You don't want to have a hangover in that tent. And goat kind of smells musky, heavy, really an oppressive.
There are quite a
smell.
few people who do object to that smell, don't they? The smell of goat and goat products, like goat's cheese, goat's milk. It can create some quite strong reactions in people.
Yeah, absolutely. It's quite polarising.
Yeah.
Very farmyard. But throw into that, like you said, the other camping smells. Cooking, smoke, burning fat from oil lamps, maybe, candles, and
Septic
7
wounds.
other... Oh, God. Hadn't even thought about the septic wounds. But 7 other stinky men with all the smells that humans bring with them.
Yeah.
All in 3 square metres of your finest goatee leather.
Wow. Good on them, though.
Well, you've got to admire them.
Yeah. I mean, that's tough.
I would be out. Caroline, out.
Yeah, you would not stand up well in that scenario.
So that is smells.
Okay, well, that's a beautiful way to start the episode. Thank you.
Does it make you want to join the Roman army?
No. Let's move on to something a little bit more pleasant.
Right, okay, so is this yours?
Yeah.
What are we talking?
We are talking about a citizenship diploma. So you've gone through your many years of service.
You probably still smell like goat yourself.
Potentially. And you come out the other end. So you've survived, you've gone through various battles, and at the end, you can get a citizenship diploma.
So if you're not a citizen, you win the right to be a citizen of Rome through your service.
Correct. So this is another reason why the army was a big draw for people. And that recognition at the end, I think, would really encourage people to join up, but also stay there and see it out, I think, because you've got that certainty at the end that you'd get that reward.
It's quite a big thing, quite a big reward.
Yeah, definitely. All of the privileges and the rights that being a citizen offered were very much sought after if you didn't have that status.
What sense are we talking about here, though?
We're going to be talking about touch.
Okay.
Because this citizenship diploma, it's 2 pages, 2 leaves. This one is bronze. I don't know if other materials were used. So it's very permanent.
So this is about the size of a piece of paper, 2 pieces of paper,
Yeah.
A4 size-ish.
Yeah, actually a bit smaller, I would think. Maybe between A4 and A5.
On very thin hammered metal, written in Latin,
Yep.
engraved onto the metal.
Yes. And inscribed on there are the details of your citizenship. Sometimes it would be extended to your family, or there'd be certain conditions. So they may say something like, this would extend to your first wife and the children that you have with her. So this is to make sure that you don't go off and start sprouting lots of different families everywhere. It's a very physical thing. Got the weight of the metal. You can feel the words, even if you can't read. So even if you're not literate, which literacy was around 10 to 15% of the population in the Roman world, may have been slightly higher in the army because the more prominent positions you needed to be literate for.
Or you may have lost your sight in the heat of battle.
Yeah, potentially. But whether you could read or whether you could not, whether you could see or whether you could not, you could feel this physical manifestation of your citizenship.
Nice.
And its permanence as well. That's not going anywhere. We've still got this.
It's not like paper, ink won't fade.
Yeah,
It's
you won't
here.
spill something on it and it will all dissipate.
Got ya.
It won't erode. It's there. It's permanent. It's unless you lose it or someone nicks it.
That's true.
It's almost like a passport, isn't it? Or some sort of identification document that we would have today.
Yes, I wonder how easy they would be to replace if you did lose yours.
Bit of admin involved, I imagine, but possible. They're very good at record keeping, weren't they, the Romans? So go through the motions and get it. But it's just that idea of permanence that I liked. So I mentioned that on the first page, that's the conditions of the citizenship. On that second page there, on the right, you've got the witnesses. It's always signed by 7 witnesses.
7?
Yeah, 7. I don't know what the significance of 7 is.
It's a good number.
Yeah, so all of those witnesses would have handled this. It's sealed as well. Nice and neat.
That is definitely nicer than smells.
It is, yeah. Our final exhibit, Caroline.
Don't cry, because this is possibly the most hilarious thing I've ever seen. This is the hygiene set. I'll describe it to you first, Laura. A copper alloy and enamel brooch, which also doubles as a toilet set.
Yep.
Now, when I say toilet set, I mean personal hygiene. It doesn't become a toilet.
That would be fantastic.
No, about the size of a big Swiss Army knife, one of those, chunky ones. And with that, you've got tweezers, an ear scoop, nail cleaners, and a few other little picks and files.
So actually, a bit like a Swiss Army knife generally.
Absolutely.
Yeah, multi-tool.
The top is round with a scalloped design and then an enamel inlay. So it's quite decorative, quite pretty.
Yeah.
And then all of these implements, the aforementioned implements, kind of just hang down, dangle down off that central circle. The idea is that this could be pinned to you for ease of travel. So you've got a brooch, which is a hygiene set. Pinned to your lapel. I mean, I've no idea where you're supposed to pin this, but the idea of having that on your chest is quite farcical. Have a nail file dangling on your bosom.
And the ear scoop.
Exactly.
Let's hope you've cleaned it properly.
I mean, it's actually quite horrible.
Yeah.
These are the things I pick my ears with. I'm going to display it for you.
And that's a good point. This is all about sight. So we've got a brooch, which is meant to be seen if we think of the brooch as an article of jewellery. And as you've mentioned, this is very decorative. Some nice detail on it. It's not
shiny
ugly.
metal enamel inlays, and it's got that pin on the back. So it's clearly supposed to be pinned to something.
The option is there.
Why did they put the pin on there if it were not to be pinned to something?
I suppose the other place you could pin it would be in your skirt. You know, the sort of metal armour skirt.
But again, it's still on show. It's like having your earbuds.
But it's a bit more camouflage there, isn't it? Because they've got the flappy metal bits anyway.
It's just a weird thing to just have your nail file dangling from your skirt.
It is a bit odd, but if we think from a practical point of view, ease of transport, being able to carry as many things as possible as easily as possible, it makes sense from that point of view. Perhaps the visual isn't great. Depends how keen you are to see other people's earwax.
Just quite foul. But I guess on the flip side, at least these troops were taking care of themselves.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, which links into the sight aspect as well. They are maintaining their personal hygiene. You know, they're tweezing their nose hair, they're dealing with their earwax, they're clipping their nails.
So it's all about personal grooming.
Personal grooming. You're still in good visual shape, so to speak.
You're quite right, Laura. I'm being very down on this as the visual, but
shallow.
Actually the practicality is you had a good-looking set of troops in front of you because of objects such as these. I mean, you've got to keep your ears clear because of all the horns going off left, right and centre, really.
Very true. Yeah. You don't want long nails to be compromising your battle grip on your weapons.
Yeah. And your nose hair, obviously.
Well, yes. Lethal if that gets too long. Yeah. Sistory History is the podcast where we chat about history and the senses. You can follow us on X, Instagram and Facebook, visit our website or even email us. We'd love to hear from you. Join us next time for the final episode in this mini-series.
Bye.
Bye.